Hey guys, welcome to a brand new season of In the Game, Season 3. I'm Robert Guerrero and I got a new co-host.
Hi, I'm Crawford Jones. I'm filling in permanently for Mason Pratt.
Yeah, Mason graduated, so I walked into the locker room and got ourselves a quarterback.
I was barely dressed, but luckily I got dressed on the way here.
Stick around this season, we'll keep doing what we always do. On this episode, we'll have Priscilla doing Fan Zone and news.
Catch up with me later. I'm talking to Cougar guard Darian Thibodeaux.
We'll also do commentary and show you a couple of highlights. So stick around, enjoy the show.
It was a big week for U of H athletics. On the first, it was National Signing Day, and U of H signed some big names like wide receivers Xavier Maxwell and Deontay Greenberry. Case Keenum will participate in the 14th annual All-Star Football Challenge, which features college football's brightest stars. And in some basketball news, the men's team rally fell short to conference rival UAB in the 80-69 loss. The girls' team rally also fell short in a 50-50 loss to Rice. And in some big athletic news, U of H students showed their Cougar pride and passed a $45 fee increase, which will allow for construction of a new stadium to begin at the end of the 2012 season.
And here's your Cougar highlights. We'll start with men's basketball, who had 2 conference games this week. They started off the week with ECU, who proved to be a tough test, but the Cougars held on to win 82-76. Next up was the UTEP Miners, who built an early lead, but led by Alondis Harris, your Cougars rallied late to win 81-76.
After a very successful season last year, the girls have been struggling as of late, and the women's basketball team was finally able to put a W in the win column after an 83-60 blowout over Houston Baptist. Amanda Lawson and Roxana Button combined 46 points as the Cougar faithful witnessed the girls' first win of the season here at Hofheinz. The girls get to take a week off before hitting the road at Washington and New Mexico.
The Cougars swim and dive team came into opening weekend with high hopes against SMU, but the Cougs were unable to come away with the win. The meet was close the entire day and came down to the final event, the 200 relay medley. Unfortunately for the Cougars, they couldn't pull off a win, but they didn't walk away empty-handed. The Cougars took 7 first-place finishes, including 5 in swimming events, and also Julia Longren and Natasha Burgess finished 1 and 2 in the 1 meter and 3 meter dives. The lone first-place finish was diver Julia Longren, who won the platform dive and also took second in the 3 meter. They were unable to beat LSU. Coming up next, number 3 Texas A&M will come to town for the Cougs on their senior day before having 2 weeks off to prep for conference.
And the tennis team opened up the season with a 4-3 loss to Colorado at John E. Hoff Court. The Cougs were able to jump out to an early lead, taking the match's first point, but then the Buffalo were able to take 3 in a row as the Cougs battled back to tie it all up. But in the end, Colorado proved too much and took the final point of the match. The tennis team will host McNeese State next week.
Alright, now for our commentary section.
This week, the Cougars signed a really good recruiting class. Some say it's been the best recruiting class that they've ever signed here.
Yeah, there's a couple of places that rank it as the best recruiting class in Conference USA.
I would have to say definitely in the conference.
The people who didn't, they're just dumb because it is the best one.
It's easily the best one in conference, if not ever for the conference.
And it actually ranks pretty up there in the Big East, which is where we'll end up in a year.
A lot of these players, that's what they're going to end up playing.
Yeah, so look for a lot of these guys to be redshirted next year.
Yep.
Maybe 1 or 2 will actually get
There's definitely going to be a couple to play this year, especially the big name coming out of the recruiting class is Deontay Greenberry, the receiver out of California.
Yeah, we were able to steal him away from Notre Dame, and then he came down here and and it's something that wide receivers should consider. Wait, Houston likes to throw.
I'm
a wide receiver.
That's all we do here. I think he'll be really pleased with that, his playing time starting off. And I think the guy caught over 2,000 yards his senior year in high school, which is a state record out there. And he may very well get that again this next couple years.
Yeah, it'd be exciting to see that. We won't have that drop off from Patrick Edwards.
I think he would be a great replacement moving forward.
Yeah, he looks a lot like him off the videos that Rivals has of him.
Oh yeah, the highlights were phenomenal.
And we picked up a couple of big players for the offensive and defensive lines, which is an area where we need a little bit of help.
Definitely, depth is always good on the O-line. You never know; those big boys can go down real quick. So you want to get as much depth you can there. And as far as defensive line goes, obviously our defense hasn't been up to where we would like it the last couple of years, and I think that they got a lot of good recruits this year that will really help them out there.
Yeah, it'll be nice to get it up to par with Big East standards,
Mm-hmm.
and then start, stomping down on the run game, which is an area where we've traditionally been beat at.
We've been beaten up a lot there recently. We stepped up a little bit in the bowl game. Hopefully that's a sign of things to come. But I think this recruiting class will really help us transition to the Big East style of play with the bigger linebackers, the bigger D line, and even we're switching defenses to the 4-3 this year.
You talk about the bowl game. How huge was that win to go into Dallas and beat Penn State, a ranked team and a top 5 defense in the country? Many people said that our offense was a fluke because we played Conference USA and we played small opponents in non-conference play. We go and we just destroy a top 5 defense.
I think that was a big deal for the Cougars. I think they really, came out to play. They decided, we should have been they really think they should have been in a bigger bowl. And I think the way they played against, a top defense, they made a case for themselves. I think they, played one of the better games they've played offensively and defensively. And I know they all came away really pleased with how the turnout came out.
Also, Case made a huge statement for himself draft-wise going
Absolutely.
into the NFL draft, just doing what he did against.
And Patrick Edwards did too. I think he had 9 catches, 200 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And against this defense that was vaunted as a top 5 against the pass defense, and I think they had 500 first half yards on them, and ended up with 700 total. It's you can't argue with those kind of numbers against a top 5 defense.
No, a lot of momentum going for the football team.
Definitely.
Going into this, and then the referendum passes.
I think
giving
that
us a new
helped.
stadium.
I think the big season helped the referendum pass. If we would have had another 5 and 7 year, I don't think it would have gotten passed as easily.
Yeah. And moving into basketball, the basketball teams are struggling as of late.
A little bit, yeah.
The women's team has completely fallen off from what they were last year. Last year, undefeated in conference play. This year, they're only 2-18 overall.
They've had some big struggles this year. I know they lost a bunch of good seniors, and Porsche Landry, who is supposed to be their one kind of carryover from last year, she's been out all year with a concussion. So they're hoping to Case Keenum her and get a medical red shirt in another year.
Well, that would be a big boost for that basketball team. They have very good players. They're all very young, though.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of freshmen, a lot of sophomores. And they play hard. You saw it in that last loss against Rice. They tried to rally back.
It's not an effort deal at all for them. Hopefully, I know they got some good recruits coming in there, too. And so hopefully they can kind of pick up where they left off, last year instead of missing, just kind of throw this one under the bed.
And the men's basketball team, you like what you see from them. They're only 11-10, but they're showing signs of what's to come.
I think this year is going to be a great growing experience for them. I think a lot of young players are getting a lot of good experience. They only have one senior in Darian Thibodeaux, and he's a heck of a player, and they're going to miss him next year. But hopefully, with their big vaunted recruiting class coming in, where they got Daniel House and Dan Rad-Knowles, hopefully it'll kind of carry over and they can build on what they're starting this year.
Yeah, and you see the high energy from them, a lot of hustle, a lot of effort. They fall short in the second half. They come out kind of flat, and it hurts them most of the time. But then they come back in the fourth quarter, and it makes for some pretty exciting games.
They end up, they start really well and they finish well. There's about a 10-minute period in there from the first half, second half, where they end up just kind of falling asleep, I guess.
Well, that's all we have for commentary. Join us next week.